Good. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Robert Vale. I am Vice President of Sales here at Genea. Today's webinar is Energy Dashboards and Analytics, a new feature being provided by the Genea team to our customer base. With me is Brian Hain. Brian Hain is our Director of Technical Services here at Genea. Brian's been with the company for over a decade, I think about 12 years. He is our in-house metering nerd, our guru. He's been spearheading this initiative to drive a new product set to the sub-meter billing platform. So he's been our technical lead as well as our subject matter expert on all things metering, especially on our analytics and energy dashboard. So thank you, Brian. Really appreciate all the effort. Looking forward to sharing this with the audience. So what we'll be doing today is, for those of you not familiar with Genea, I'm going to do a brief, very high-level overview of our business, give you some background on who we are, what we do. We'll talk, then we'll pass it to Brian to go over some sub-meter billing regulations. We'll do an energy dashboard demonstration, so we're going to walk through the entire demonstration. And then, of course, any Q&A as we go through the process, feel free to, like I said, put those questions there in Zoom. So with that, for Genea, for those who are not familiar with us, we have three solutions. The way we started our business was with a solution to handle overtime HVAC requests and billings and multi-tenant office properties. So we give tenants the ability to pull up their smartphone app, request overtime HVAC, we turn that on, turn it off, and we do all the billing at the end of the month. About 6 years ago, we launched a second product called sub-meter reading and billing, and this was based upon customer feedback. We'd fly around the country, ask our customers what else do they need help with. The number one thing we heard is we need help with our sub-meter reading and billing because we've got engineers who walk around once a month writing down meter values on a clipboard and then going to a spreadsheet to bill back for that. So we developed a software application with that in mind, uses a smartphone app or a data collector, the same data collector used for overtime HVAC, where we can automatically record all the meter data and we handle all the billing from beginning to end. And then in 2019, we launched we made an acquisition and purchased a cloud-based access control company that gives, in multi-tenant office, gives tenants the ability to come in, use their phone to enter the doors, into the parking deck. Also gives a much easier way to manage the user provisioning and card provisioning solution. And we've been selling that since 2019. So three main products. What we're talking about today is our sub-meter billing solution, and this is an add-on to that product. Was our energy dashboards and analytics. So taking that sub-meter data we've been having and then really enhancing it and making it usable data. I'll give you an idea, customers we work with on the commercial real estate side, it's the who's who in commercial real estate. So you get to see our wonderful logo list. We appreciate all the customers we've been working with for a number of years. We work with 21 of the top 25 owners of commercial real estate in the United States in some capacity. So really, wonderful customer list. And then on the enterprise side, really for our access control product, you get the name of some of the companies who we work with in terms of our cloud-based access control solution. So really some great reference points for all of our customers. We're in the United States. We have over 4,500 companies who utilize our products on a daily basis. We provide 24/7 support, so that's something very, very unique to all of us and to the industry. We're 200,000 users of the product, which has led us to having a 98% customer retention rate. This is at the building level. So as buildings change hands, we stay with the buildings year over year. And this also leads to having a 75 net promoter score. So not only do the customers love us, but they also refer us to other business. And we take that very seriously. There's a white glove approach when it comes to customer service. So if any of you can attest to work with us for a number of years, those of you who know Brian, you've talked to Brian in the middle of the night, especially our engineers, where Brian's helped to triage things with your BMS, helped your customers get going. It's really core to what we do is taking care of our customers to make sure that everything is running smoothly. So Brian, I'm going to start. We're going to pass it over to you. So why analytics? Why is it time for us to kind of take this next step with all the data we have and really push it into an analytics and energy dashboard offering?
Yeah. So thanks for that, Rob. This is something that's been kicking around the industry for a little while now. The idea of ESG, environment, social, and governance. We're sort of really on the environment part and the energy. This is all about how people view companies, and we got to look at it. It's not just the property management companies; it's the tenants companies that are in these buildings. the companies that manage the buildings and the companies that own the buildings. And this is going to be how particularly investors look at companies. Environmentally, how are you taking care of our planet? You know, what are you doing to limit energy usage and waste, etc.? And of course, how do you know? I throw a comment around quite often. You can't manage what you don't measure. That's the very first thing to think about. Is we're going to try and manage our greenhouse gas emissions, our energy usage, however you want to define it. We're going to try and manage it. Well, the first thing we need to do is understand what we're using, and that's where sort of our sub-metering product has come in for looking at what the tenants are using. So we can broaden this out to look at the building meters themselves, and a whole bunch more information that we can get in. So this is the big deal about is we need to start managing that data. And as everyone at Genea knows, I'm a huge fan of Lego. I had Lego as a kid, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys have played with Lego. I've got kids that play with Lego, and you remember that big bucket of pieces. It's all well and good, but you got to sort it out into the different sizes and arrange it, and you know, be able to look at it and then tell the story. So this is what we're trying to do with the dashboards and analytics, is take a ton of data that we're getting from all of these energy meters, sort it, arrange it, and tell the story that shows what the usage, the energy usage is for a particular tenant, building, portfolio, owner, however you want to look at it. So if we go on to the next slide, there's a few things about what drives the need for analytics. The first thing is sort of a flashback to one of our previous webinars on sub-metering and the laws around it. And each one of these areas has some different requirements. And again, the next slide is from our previous sub-metering webinar. And we went through a few of these. But if you take particular notice of the third line item there, it's user accessible. So that's tenant accessible. How do we get this data and we show it to the tenants? More importantly, how do they understand it? Because these people are not accustomed to looking at utility data beyond their own electricity bill. And if you look in that third row, it also talks about hourly, daily, and monthly reads. So if we're going to read all of these meters every hour, guess what? That's our pile of Lego. We got a ton of data from different meters. And what do we do with it? So around the rules and regulations, again, on the next slide, we look at ASHRAE 90.1, which covers a majority of the country. And just pulling out again, ASHRAE focuses on energy reduction. This is our environmental impact. This is our E of ESG. And everyone is now looking for granular data and graphical displays to the tenant. And say this techno data that we're receiving, all of these utility consumption values are quite complex, you know, kilowatt hours, kilowatts, therms, etc. It's not easy for everyone to read. And as I said, with 15-minute reads, that's 4 reads an hour, 24 hours a day. Wow, we've already got quite a few reads. So, you know, how do we sort this out? And you know what? Why? On the next slide, you know, we talked about particularly California because that's where our head office is. Title 24 is calling out for measurement of 10 different electrical loads. That's not just for the building, but for tenants. So it's a ton of stuff we got to pull out, and a ton of stuff that we've got to take care of. So what's in it for us as building owners and building managers? Well, on the next slide, there's a brief snapshot of some lead points. So guess what? Yeah, you do get something for doing this. You get lead points. And here's you know, hey, if you've got energy meters across your whole building, and you're looking at that data, then guess what? You get between 1 and 18 points. If you can document the energy usage, you get 2 points. Well, you know what? We can all write numbers down from meters, but that's sort of tough. That's a lot of hard work, and again, it's a bunch of numbers. It would be much better if we could get it into this graphical dashboard and actually crunch some numbers against it, make it make sense for everyone. So yeah, LEED's a good choice. On the next slide, Energy Star. We all remember Energy Star was big a few years ago, and it sort of it quieted down a little bit with the likes of LEED coming out. But Energy Star's coming back as in popularity. Tenant space, Energy Star's tenant space. The idea that our tenants now want to be Energy Star certified within their building. But again, how do we get this data into the tenants' hands? So we get these questions all the time. And you can see on this slide, this is what we've been asked by customers. This is what a lot of what drives what Genea does is what are customers asking for? And here's sort of our hit list. You know, it's the greenhouse gas reports. I want to do some graphical representation of consumption and demand and cost. And I want to be able to put it against different time frames, not just the last 24 hours, but maybe the last 7 days, the last month, the last year, you know, make it easy and selectable. Show it to the tenants. Some form of online dashboard that my tenant energy manager or sustainability manager can log into. And then, of course, does this one tenant here use more energy than another tenant? Let's start engaging the tenants and showing them this data and saying, hey, you know what? You should try and save energy. How about, you know, you try and save more energy than the guy on the floor above you, that sort of thing. And again, for Title 24, we're looking at different load types. Is it HVAC? Is it lighting? Is it plug load? You know, is it water heating? So we need to be able to do all that sort of reporting. And then we're also looking at the financial type reports, energy cost recovery, budget forecasting, that sort of thing. So this is what we sort of took away, and we stepped into the next slide and built our energy analytics and real-time dashboards. And basically it's built up of a few different things. The ability to be able to take this data and look at energy usage trends, be able to produce greenhouse gas reporting, have different views. So you've got a chief engineer view, you've got a sustainability manager view, you've got a tenant view. So all these different people can have different views into the system. Again, degree day normalization is one of the other things that people are always asking for. So that's pretty much what we put together as this is our idea for energy analytics and dashboards. You know what? Yeah, we've done a lot of talking. So how about we do some showing? Let me see if I can make this work. Okay. Boom. There we go. So welcome to the new Genea platform. Some of you will recognize this, some of you won't. This is sort of the nuts and bolts of our system. And here we have a sample building within our sub-meter billing section. It's a small building. It's pretty cool. It's got 8 meters in it. And you can see here we've got a nice setup where we can look at invoicing. We can go and look at the invoice itself, just preview it and see, you know, what the reads are, what the cost is, the normal sort of thing you're used to seeing from the Genea billing platform. What we then get into is the concept of our physical metering system. And this is where there's a dramatic change in the way we're doing things. We are now looking at the ability to have multiple measurements. And for those people that use things like TOU 8, where we have different tariffs, different rates, different schedules. We do a much better job of accommodating that and separating that out. If we're doing reads for demand meters, we have that as a separate measurement. And all of this is fairly easily viewable within our system. So I'm going to grab one real quick, AC1. This is sort of like our favorite. Bunch of information here about the actual meter. So we're doing a whole meter management idea, and we can look at the meter, the make, the model, the serial number, some notes about it, what it feeds, where it's fed from, all of that sort of information, which is really useful for the engineering teams. But let's go and look at the data, because this is what we're talking about, is the data. So we take a look at this, and we've got a nice graph and a ton of numbers. For the numbers guys out there, you like these numbers. Unfortunately, my wife balances our checkbook, so I'm not a numbers guy. I'm very much a pictures guy. So this is where we can jump into our energy analytics platform. So here we go. This is our sort of simple dashboard, and we can pull up a bunch of different widgets. What we're doing is we're sort of putting this out as a standardized dashboard, and you can see here there's several meters. Let me actually go and grab the other building. I'm a portfolio manager here, so I can see multiple buildings, and you can have your own private dashboard. So you can see here, this is my private dashboard. It's looking at all the metering data from 3 different properties. And if you notice, there's 2 of the graphs a 24-hour period, and one of them's a 7-day period. Well, you can set that, you can change that with the little drop down, and we can select the different time periods for the different graphs. This one here is hard-coded 7 days, just because I felt like it. But this is what we can do with the dashboard. So let's go and look at our AC unit that we were just talking about. Oh, you know what? Just this is a slap in the face type graphic right here. 5 points for anyone that can pick exactly what is wrong with this dashboard and what it tells me about the way the building's running. Right here, this AC unit is running overnight. So just by collecting the data and showing it in this graphical form, we've identified some operational issues with the building. And this actually has improved greatly since we first started looking at this building. It used to run 24/7 every day. So we use this to highlight a problem to the building, and you can see that this is now improved. But still, we have issues. So this is the big thing. Seeing it visually makes it a lot easier to identify potential issues and problems with the building. Now, I'm looking at it and I'm like, my old eyes are a little bit confused. So we can turn some of these traces on and off. If we don't want to look at everything, you can turn the traces on and off, which is nice. You want to look at just the AC and the hot water, we can turn those on. So it's a pretty versatile platform in that you can turn stuff on and off. And again, we've got the date range, so we can change the range for the data we're looking at. One of the other things we get asked for quite a bit is we talked about pushing tenants against each other, KPI ratings. We can look here at all of our meters and see what the usage is compared to the other meters within the building. And if you're a tenant in multiple buildings that use this service, you as a tenant will see your meters in those different buildings. So we can combine different data from different buildings and apply it to individual tenants. So KPI rankings are fairly useful. The other thing you see here is greenhouse gas emissions, which is one of the other things we've touched on several times here. So we can take a look at our greenhouse gas items. Let me just pull up, this is another, this is a report that we can produce out of the system. Greenhouse gas emissions report. This is a fairly low consumption building, so you'll see a lot of the figures are fairly low. And this was just a snapshot that I took yesterday. But you can see we can produce greenhouse gas reports from this system. And that's just a PDF that you can print, email, do whatever you want with. We also have the ability to set alarms. So if we want to look at different consumption patterns, is it exceeding this? Is it not changing? Is it flat? Is it zero? We can set a whole ton of alarms here that appear in the dashboard. So let's look at a couple of other widgets that we can do. We've talked about weather normalization. Let's take this data and throw it against cooling degree days. We're Southern California, we don't do a lot of heating, so cooling degree days here. Let's do some analysis. We said it was analysis. So here is, okay, this is a tongue twister for me. This is our consumption value for the AC unit plotted against a prediction using multivariable linear regression. What that means is we can take a bunch of data and throw this prediction off by giving it degree days, by giving it occupancy. We can throw a bunch of stuff at it and work out what our predicted consumption is. What's interesting here is the top one is a straight prediction, actual consumption against predicted consumption. The bottom one includes occupancy. And you can see, because this unit has been running off hours when it shouldn't have been, it's actually skewed the prediction a little bit and said that we should be consuming energy when in fact, because it's unoccupied, we shouldn't. This again is a historical problem with the building. But this is a good way of showing some of this data and actually looking at it and seeing where the problems are, what days are the problem. The other thing that we can go and look at, another building, different set of meters, but a similar sort of thing. We want to turn off all the meters except for the house panels. We're not interested in the tenant consumption at the moment. We're just looking at house panels. You know what? I'm a tenant in this building. I want to look just at my meter. Well, you know what? We can do that. Here we go. This is the details for this one tenant's meter, energy delivered. Again, I said I'm a visual person. We're asked for heat maps all the time. I love this way of looking at stuff. So you can see that this particular tenant, they have their highest consumption was on Tuesday around 5, 6 o'clock. So we can immediately identify consumption patterns and the tenant can see it. You know, what's going on in my building at 6 o'clock at night? Why do we have such a large energy consumption at that particular time? Again, we can show the amount of energy consumed last week and how that compares to the previous period. Greenhouse gas emissions, tons of CO2 last week compared to the previous week. So this is a really good tool for tenants. As long as they see this number going down, guess what? We're doing good stuff. We can also look at this data in another way. This is exactly the same data, but instead of being a heat map, it's multiple traces, one for each day, plotted against the 24-hour period. The other thing that's quite interesting on the bottom here, this building has the demand meters. So we've included consumption and demand data in here so that we can look and see what's going on with our demand. And there's quite a few systems out there that will tell you if they read the demand data every 15 minutes and multiply that up by 4, it will give you an hourly consumption. Well, I can tell you, look at this graph here, that math is going to be wrong. For example, there's a peak right here in demand and the red track. If you multiply that peak by 4, it's definitely not going to give you the consumption over that hour, again, here. So this is good data. We can look at when we're using our energy, when we're not using our energy, when our peak demands are. etc., etc. So that's pretty much the simple version. All of these dashboards can be customized either by the end user to a certain extent to the data they have available to them. We can also do some other customization, and we offer a professional services menu for that, and some really fancy graphics that can be used for like kiosk type displays and that sort of thing. Yeah, so that's pretty much our simplified energy analytics and dashboarding product, and some of the things that we can show you. Obviously, right now we are looking at purely tenant-based meters, but there is no reason, if we can collect the data from your utility meters or from shadow meters installed in the building, we could include whole building meters in this platform as well. So that's pretty much it from my technical end. Hey
Brian,
thing,
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
That's probably a loaded question, but so we have got all this great dashboards now. We've got a lot of data from all our sub-meters that we're collecting. You know, we have two other solutions, right? We have an overtime HVAC solution that allows us to pull points from a BMS, see schedules, see what's running. And our access control solution also allows us to see people, right? People are coming into a site, we're going into a parking deck. You know, theoretically, right? Wouldn't we be able to pull all those data points in at some point, combine it, and really kind of give a whole picture of what's happening with the building and pinpoint to people and floors where things are really occurring to get a grid visual of how energy is being consumed, how the building's being operated?
Yeah, so I mean, this is one of the things that we can do because we're just talking about data. As you said, we have access to information via our after hours product, and we can look at, is the equipment running? Did we turn it on for after hours? We can pull in data from the access control software and look at people count. Pretty much any data that we can get access to, we can put on these charts. And you're going to make me say it again, the multivariable linear regression model allows us to do that. So if we were to take occupancy, for argument's sake, people count, and take that over the last 6 months and throw it at the chart, it would take that as a value that it would think about and analyze what is our occupancy level. If we expect the occupancy to go up, then guess what? Our consumption is going to go up. So yeah, any data that we can get hold of, we can put into this system. As long as we can collect it, it's like we're going back to the pile of Lego again. You just mentioned all the green blocks. We can take those green blocks and we can put them into the algorithm and pull some data out of it.
Very cool, very cool. So it'll be exciting, things to come. Obviously, this is early stages, and we had an initial need with the sub-meter billing product and our sub-meter billing customers to do this. But for those of you in the audience who are watching this, you can see where we're going overall with what the opportunity is with just the product set that we currently have and data. There's a lot to do here. So Brian, just in the slides we had, ideas like what's next, right? In order for somebody to really take advantage of this, the property team to take advantage of this, like what do they need to do to even get started?
Yeah, so you know what? Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. And there's a PowerPoint slide there.
I got that. I got it.
You got it there. Perfect. So next steps. You know what? This is all about collecting the data. As you said, we have the OT HVAC system, we have the access control system, and we have the sub-metering system. And we can collect all that data. Well, you know what? Hold on, Brian. We're not there yet. Let's start off. Where are we at? We've got a building. We want to start doing this. This goes back to our sub-metering conversation. We need to decide what we need to meter. So we're going to take the whole building for starters. So we need the electrical utility usage. We need the water usage. We need the gas usage. So we need to start pulling all that data in from the utility companies. And then we need to take a look at the internals. What of it is house load? The panels that do the AC units, that do the fans, that do the chillers, that do the central plant, that do the parking lot. You know, you got lights in the parking lot. We need to pull those in as well. Then we need to look at the tenant spaces and start measuring the loads in the tenant spaces. This sounds like a big deal, but guess what? Title 24 says we're going to do it. ASHRAE 90.1 says you're going to do it. Whether it be now or in the future, it's going to happen. LEED says we're going to do it. Energy Star Tenant Space says you're going to do it. So it's all coming. But this is where we need to look at the single line drawings, take a look at the electricals, the water, etc., and work out where to place meters, how to divide them up. In our system, we can identify if it's an electrical load. If it is an electrical load, is it HVAC? Is it plug load? Is it lighting, etc., etc.? And once we've identified all these loads, installed all the hardware, guess what? It's just a case of collecting data. So the first step is just to take a look at your building and work out how you're going to do it. And what do you have in place? If you have nothing, guess what? A blank slate is fairly easy. If you already have hardware in place, maybe you've got some of those old-fashioned demons with 4 digits on them, change them out. There's an upgrade path that we can help you out with. Again, Rob mentioned I'm a metering nerd. Yeah, I am. Sorry, I admit it. We can help you out with some ideas there. Again, we have a professional services menu where we can help out with some of the design and selection of that, and even supply. We can sell you some of the hardware at some very, very good prices. So next step, call and talk to Genea. This is where we jump in and start helping you guys out. That's it. That's all I got, Rob. I'm going to shut up now.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Super informative, very exciting. It's nice to take kind of this next phase of the business and enhance everything. So, yeah, for customers on here, if you guys have questions or anything you want to have addressed here now, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Otherwise, you can reach out to myself or Brian directly. We're more than happy to jump on individual calls, talk about your individual needs. But we really appreciate everybody taking your time to walk through this with us. It's been wonderful. So, with that, one second. I'm going to stop sharing here. And with that, I think we are done. So one of the quickest webinars ever. So once again, Brian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Very thorough, as always. Like I said, recording will be sent out afterwards. So our marketing team will send an email with a link to the recording. If for some reason you have any issues with it, please reach out to us. We'll make sure we get you a copy of it. And like I said, if anybody needs any help individually with their site, want to talk about their metering infrastructure, we'll get Brian on the phone so he can nerd out and tell you everything he knows about metering. So with that, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Have a great day.